What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly GCap, the only source you'll ever need to catch up on all the gaming news from the last week. As always, we got quite a couple stories to go through, and as always, if there's only a couple stories that interest you in particular, you can either use the timestamps down in the description, or you can scroll through the time bar and the chapters should be labeled there, so then you can just watch the parts that actually interest you. First things first, let's go ahead and go over all the major game releases in the last week according to Metacritic. So, on August 9th, we have The Crush House, and then on August 8th, we had Cat Quest 3, Deathbound, Fate/Stay Night Remastered, SteamWorld Heist 2, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Isekai Chronicles, Train Valley World. And then on August 7th, we had Creatures of Ava. And then on August 6th, we had Signy, All Guns Blazing, as well as Pepper Grinder, which was released before, but is just now available on more platforms. So, have you gotten to pick up or play any of these games? Next up, two games are free on Epic Games, those being Signy, All Guns Blazing, as well as DNF Duel. However, this week they have an additional thing that is free, that being the Apex Legends Conduit Free Unlock Bundle. These will be free until August 15th at 11 AM EST, so you might as well redeem them because there's no better price than free. Next up, we got the first wave of August Xbox Game Pass games for you guys, those being Creatures of Ava, which was a day one release for Game Pass and released on August 7th, so you can play that now. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which was added to the servers on August 8th, so that is also available now. And then Mafia Definitive Edition coming August 13th. A solid lineup overall, and despite the fact that this may seem like it's only 3 games, it's technically 5 because Crash Insane Trilogy, well, it's a trilogy, and those are some of the best 3D platformers of all time, so if you've never played it before, please do yourself a favor and play them now. Next up, Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue is coming to Nintendo Switch Online. This coming from Nintendo of America on X, quote, introducing the newest Pokémon, You. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team is coming to Nintendo Switch for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion members on August 9th, which means that it is available now, and that is for the GBA app specifically. While it is unfortunate that no mainline Pokemon titles have yet been added to the service, like say Red or Yellow for example, at least we're finally getting something that is close to it. And Mystery Dungeon is still an entirely different thing in itself, but I mean, it's getting closer and closer to that traditional Pokemon gameplay. Hopefully soon we can see a classic game actually going to the service. Not holding out on that one. I don't think it's actually gonna happen, but hey, we can always be hopeful, right? Next up, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming to PS4 and Xbox One. Now, we had covered this a couple months ago at this point when they had mentioned in an investors meeting that they were going to be making this move, but they have officially announced it on their page. So, this coming from EA Star Wars on X, quote, the critically acclaimed Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4 on September 17th, 2024, pre-order now. This is going for $49.99, so not the full $69.99 that we've come to expect from most AAA releases, nor is it even the previous standard of $59.99. This is $49.99 because it is also worth noting that this game did release over a year and a half ago at this point, and Jedi Survivor is an absolute masterpiece. I cannot deny that at launch there was some performance issues, and a part of me is kind of worried as to how this may perform on Xbox One or PS4, especially for that base VCR Xbox One. Not trying to diss that console, but just objectively speaking, it is technically the weaker of all of those last-gen consoles, even being weaker than the Xbox One S to a certain extent. So if they're releasing it, I have to assume that it's at least in a playable state, but at the same time, Cyberpunk 2077 was allowed to launch on the base Xbox One the way that it did. So that's the one that I'm most worried about, and I think I may actually be picking up the game for a second time on that console just to test it out for myself and see how it goes, but we all know Digital Foundry will probably cover that as well. So if you're still on the last-gen machines, but you've been holding out hope that eventually maybe you can play this game, well, now here's your chance, and again, I can highly recommend it. It is an absolute masterpiece. Next up, Avowed has been delayed to 2025, and the reason is kind of funny. So this coming from Xbox on X, quote, so many games coming. As such, we're moving Avowed to February 18th, 2025 to give players backlog some breathing room. Stay tuned for more from our games across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios at Gamescom, including our August 23rd live stream for a look at Avowed. So that'll be coming up in about 2 weeks now, but yeah, the reason for delaying the game is the fact that they just have so many games coming out that, you know, they just wanted to do the gamers a favor, give the backlog some breathing room. But regardless whether they do this or not, we all know that for, you know, the hardcore among us, our backlogs are, I mean, there's no such thing as breathing room on that thing, right? Like, it's ever expanding, it's ever growing. You beat one game, and then you have to add 5 more to the list. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, the hardcore ones out there, you know what I mean. And if you're new to this whole backlog thing, trust me, I've been at this for over 2 decades at this point. You get used to it, and you learn to embrace the chaos. Regardless, if you look at Xbox's lineup of game releases coming up, like from first-party studios such as Activision, Bethesda, and Xbox themselves for the next couple of months through the holiday season, Yeah, it kind of makes sense as to why they're delaying it. They do have a lot of releases coming up, but that being said, I'm super excited for when this game does finally launch in February. This game looks like so much fun, and I wish I could play it now, but now I gotta wait another 6 months. Next up, Black Myth Wukong development is complete. This coming from Black Myth Wukong on X, quote, "Dear Destined Ones, thank you for your patience. We're thrilled to announce that the full development of Black Myth Wukong is complete, and the game will be released as scheduled," with a winky face emoji for good measure. Right now, our entire team is working hard on the final stages of experiencing, testing, and deploying the game. To prove we haven't forgotten about promotions, we put together a brand new trailer which will be released at 10 a.m. Beijing time on August 8th, which you guys are watching right now as I'm talking. Although we're incredibly eager to share every fun detail of the game with you, Black Myth Wukong is a single-player game with an original storyline and unique gameplay. Therefore, we kindly ask that in these last few days before the official release, you avoid spreading any text, images, or videos that might reveal unreleased content, as well as any leak information from unofficial sources. We sincerely hope that all the mysteries and surprises of Black Myth Wukong remain intact until the moment you embark on your journey. Your anticipation and trust given in the past 4 years are always remembered. The game is now available for pre-order on PS5, Steam, Epic Games Store, and Wii Game, and will be unlocked at 10 a.m. UTC plus 8 on August 20th, 2024, end quote. So, yeah, this is a game that I am very, very excited for, and most definitely do plan to pick up on day one. I've been waiting for this one for a while, ever since it was announced, and now that it's finally here, and it seems like things went smooth enough for them to announce that development is literally complete on the game. That's just, you know, great news all around, and yeah, I'm very excited to get my hands on this one on August 20th. Next up, we got a bit of a small update here for The Last of Us Season 2. We got our first official teaser. This coming from Max on X, quote, "I saved her." A sneak peek of Season 2 of the HBO original series The Last of Us coming in 2025 to Max, end quote. So you're seeing the teaser on your screen. It is about 23 seconds long, and it just kind of it just kind of covers what happened at the end of the first game and how it leads into the second game, sort of, than like the main story thing there. I'm trying to be careful with what I say. The video in itself is kind of a teaser, so if you haven't watched Season 1 yet, but you're still watching this and watching the teaser, then yeah, I mean, you probably shouldn't be, because that in itself is a complete spoiler. But Season 2 is obviously going to be based on the storyline of The Last of Us Part 2, whereas, you know, obviously Season 1 covered the first game, so I'm assuming Season 2 will kind of just be the end of the road for now until The Last of Us 3 comes out. Then maybe they can follow up with the Season 3 years down the line. If you've played The Last of Us games, again, I don't want to say too much for spoilers' sakes, but all I'm going to say is that we are in for an emotional roller coaster this season, and I mean, I'm ready for it, but oh man, the heartbreak is gonna be real. Next up, Game Informer abruptly shut down. So they posted up saying, quote, "The final level, farewell from Game Informer. After 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being a part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end," end quote. So yeah, this was rather abrupt. So there was no warning ahead of time, like, hey, this is going to be the final issue of the magazine, or this, that, or the other. No, it literally just it just stopped. Like, that was it. Then they posted up this image, and that was it. Their Twitter accounts are already gone. The YouTube page is still up, which is how you're watching the video on your screen right now. So if you're wondering, like, why the gameplay on screen is relevant at all, it's because this is the final thing that Game Informer posted up over on the YouTube channel. And since the magazine is done, and they're done pressing the magazines and releasing, you know, just, I guess even the digital ones as well, then I guess, does that mean that their YouTube channel is going to be done too? I mean, the YouTube channel itself is still up, whereas the Twitter's already down, so maybe they're keeping that up because that could be some sweet side ad revenue or something like that, just to kind of bring in some more revenue for nostalgic fans. I want to go back and watch some of those old Game Informer videos, which I feel like they should leave up for preservation's sake and for nostalgia's sake, and just, again, mainly preservation though, just so then those things can always be there. Regardless, this whole situation's just kind of weird, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe there was something else to it that we don't know, considering how abrupt and random this shutdown was, but it really is a shame. I have a lot, and I do mean a lot, of nostalgia and gratitude for the Game Informer magazines. And if you're wondering why I say gratitude, it's because I'm not going to go too deep into it, but there was a time in late middle school where I was struggling with my mental health, and I had to get admitted to a inpatient hospital. And I basically lived there for a couple weeks, about half of a month. And it was very limited as to what we were actually allowed to bring into the facility. We could basically bring in nothing, but after a while we were able to have our parents bring in, say, like, reading material that wasn't, you know, inherently explicit or triggering in any way for the other people in there or ourselves when it came to the mental disorders and such. and my mother, I asked her to bring me all, or not all, because I had literally like like hundreds at that point, but you know, as many Game Informer magazines as she could reasonably fit into a bag. So she brought them in, and yeah, I flipped through those, and even though I was rereading them because I read through like literally every single magazine as they released, it was nice to at least just have something there that I cared about so much, right? Because ever since I was little, you know, I've said this before, my first vivid memory from my life is when I was 3 years old playing Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. So the first vivid memory I have from my life is literally playing a video game, and one of the best video games of all time at that. So I'm truly just a gamer at heart, and video games are like everything to me. So when I was in that mental facility, just kind of like, you know, down in the dumps, obviously, as it is. I mean, if I was in a mental facility, obviously things weren't going too well at the time, but it just helped me feel human, helped me feel really good, and got me through that very, very tough time in my life. So I will always be grateful and gratuitous for the Game Informer magazine. But furthermore, just, you know, the amount of nostalgia I have for it, just because of how many literal decades at this point I've been reading the magazine, it's rather sad. I still have all of my my issues of the magazine just sort of sitting in this nicely neat bin in my closet. So the nostalgia never ends. I'll always continue to flip through those and just relive the glory days of Game Informer before they were unfortunately just no more as they are now. So yeah, for all the folks and writers and people that were involved with Game Informer, all I can say is thank you, and it's really sad to see it go. Next up, Everybody Want to Switch topped the sales charts. No, that is not clickbait. That's not, no, I'm serious. So, this is coming from Go Nintendo. Quote, the latest weekly sales charts for Australia have come in, and believe it or not, Everybody Want to Switch has taken the #1 position on the sales charts. You might think this has something to do with a big sale at various Aussie retailers, but there seems to be zero evidence of such a sale taking place. Obviously, something spurred on these massive sales, but the details on that remain a mystery for now. End quote. So, yeah. Seriously, it isn't like worldwide sales or anything like that, because that's not really that easy to quantify. It would basically just have to be #1 on every single sales chart across the world simultaneously. So, again, it wasn't specifically for like the US or Japan or anything like that, but it's still Australia, and Australia is huge, and there's plenty of video game players and Switch owners out there. It's not like it's just a couple hundred, no, we're talking millions, and yet, all of a sudden, you know, even though the game's been out for, like, over a year at this point, all of a sudden, I guess all the Aussies were just like, hey, let's get our Everybody Want to Switch on this week. So they did that, and yeah. I just want to clarify, Everybody Want to Switch isn't a bad game by any means. I love Everybody Want to Switch. It's a lot of fun, especially when you get the family together, you're playing. Yeah, it's a great time, but it's just one of those things where it was so random that I had to report on it. Next up, Ready at Dawn, the studio has unfortunately closed. So this coming from Push Square, quote, Ready at Dawn, the studio best known to PlayStation fans for the divisive PS4 exclusive The Order 1886, will be closed by Meta effective immediately. Android Central reports the closure is related to ensuring Reality Labs can stay within its budgetary constraints and make a, quote, better long-term impact in VR development, not to save money. The dev was bought by Meta in 2020 and has created games for MetaQuest headsets ever since. So, yeah, unfortunately, for those that don't know, Ready at Dawn was known for making a variety of titles for a variety of platforms. They've been around since 2003, and they've had experience with developing games for things like the PSP, the PS3, and obviously the PS4 with The Order 1886. And then obviously they went on to work on like VR titles with Meta and all that, and yeah, we've seen this in recent times with some of these studios that, you know, work for some. Well, I mean, we had it a bit ago with Firewalk, for example, where they were one of those. I don't know how I want to put this. I guess like secondary studios, or just one of those studios that more or less works for cool accessories or, you know, cool tech that isn't necessarily like a main console platform or PC, like, you know, other things like the PlayStation Move, for example, or just other fun, quirky stuff like that. And now Ready at Dawn is in a similar situation where obviously they weren't directly tied to Sony because they were picked up by Meta, but they were just another studio that was responsible for working for VR games, which isn't necessarily like the mainstream type of games you would think of when you think of, well, just video games in general, right? And unfortunately, this is yet another one of those studios that has shut down. And again, they were behind the Order 1886, and according to reports behind the scenes, at one point they were even pitching a sequel for this game, which sounded really cool, but unfortunately it was just never meant to be, I suppose. It's also a shame because it's not like this was a necessary closure, as it was even stated in the article. This was just I guess like a preemptive cost-saving measure, but not necessarily one that was actually necessary, as it said in the article of, you know, this wasn't a move to save money. So I don't know, just a very weird and unfortunate situation at all, but all I can do is hope for the best for anybody that has been affected by the shutdown, anybody that has been faced with layoffs as a result of this, and hopefully you can find new and sustainable work soon. And who knows, maybe these devs could split off and make their own spiritual successor to the Order 1886 somehow, even if they aren't actually technically allowed to use that name. I think that'd be pretty cool, because the Order 1886, as quote-unquote divisive as it was, I always thought that game was absolutely phenomenal, and I'd love to see that studio get another crack at what they were clearly attempting to do, and clearly had the skill to do then, just, you know, now that they have done it once, now they have a bit more experience, and they can fully realize their vision to the fullest extent. And finally, we have a recap of the THQ Nordic showcase that happened on August 2nd, so we're just gonna go ahead and run through, like, the titles and any of the release dates that they provided for us during the showcase, and then if you want to do some more research into the games, feel free to go ahead and do so, but I just kind of want to give you guys the rundown of what was actually there. So, first things first, The Eternal Life of Goldman. We don't have a release date for it. Space for Sale is available in early access now. Got another look at Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed, which will be coming to the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch, and PC on September 24th of this year. Wreckfest 2 coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Titan Quest 2, they confirmed that it is in development and is coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. The Gothic 1 remake was confirmed to be in development, which Gothic 1, let me tell you, I mean, the Gothic games in general are just absolutely phenomenal. I am very, very excited for this remake to see how it turns out. Again, they confirmed that this is in development. Will be coming to both of the modern consoles and PC. A Wave the Hunter Lintukoto Reserve DLC is available now and is available on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. The Cute Little Piglet. No, this is not the game title. So apparently that's like I guess like the behind the scenes name or the code name, The Cute Little Piglet. They say from the creators of Little Nightmares 1 and 2 comes an entirely new vision unlike anything you've seen before. Find out more about Tarsier Studios' next game at Gamescom opening night live Tuesday, August 20th, 11 a.m. PDT. And then finally, we got a teaser for the next Darksiders game where they say, quote, "Be prepared to ride again. Will we reveal anything else at this point in history? No." End quote. So, apologies for that voice crack right there. That was pretty extreme. But anyways, yeah, that's a recap of the THQ Nordic showcase that took place on August 2nd. Bit of a tongue twister there. Showcase took place. Anyway, yeah, some really cool announcements there. Some really unexpected ones at that too. And man, the next Darksiders game, for those that don't know, I'm a huge Darksiders fan. Let me tell you something, man. Back in the day, Darksiders 1 and 2, played those games like crazy. Darksiders 3 came out. Absolutely loved that game as well. It definitely went for a bit of a different take on the game series in general, right? It completely shifted the genres. And then we had Darksiders Genesis, which was more like that isometric type of game, but I thought that one was great as well. I genuinely love the series, and I am super excited to see where they take things next, how they handle it, what genres they're going to dabble in. Will they go back to what they did with something like Darksiders 1 and 2, or is it going to be more like Souls-likey? Is it going to be isometric? Who even knows? All I know is that I'm excited, and you should be too. But anyways, that is all the stories that I got for you guys this week, so now I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on everything that we talked about? Whether it's Ready at Dawn, their studio unfortunately closing down, or all the game announcements that we had at THQ Nordic, or The Last of Us Season 2. Are you ready for the heartbreak? Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm excited, but man, this one's gonna hurt. Whatever it is, whatever you're thinking, I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. But anyway, this is Weekly GCap. New episodes go live every single Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, so if you want to catch them as soon as they go live, well, then I know when to be here. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day and an amazing weekend. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.